So when Lynn spoke, it was really just apparent that, we always think like, oh, will a child like this, is this age appropriate or those type of things. And like with like stuffed animals, one of her examples was, she was surprised at how much the older boys really loved the stuffed animals that they got. And I think like in my mind when I'm packing, I'm like, okay, sometimes I send a little stuffy, but that they really do enjoy that. I mean, a lot of these kids have nothing. And she said some of the errors were poorer than others and some, weren't as bad. But she said overall, it was really, really amazing to see what God did with every item and how you pack something that you may think is not that big of a deal. And the impact it has on a child is just beyond our imagination. So one of the stories that she told was about a little boy who was in a wheelchair, and he had a lot of health issues, and he was actually bent over in his chair. He couldn't physically lift himself up. He was like paralyzed or something. So most of his time was actually him just sort of laying down in his lap, and he couldn't really see. So she sat by him most of the time, and she lifted him up so he could watch. And she helped him open his box, and the things in his box worked perfectly for him. Like he had a poppet, the poppets that are like, we get them for $1, or sometimes we find them on really good sales for cheaper, and we send them. And it was something that he could articulate with his fingers. And so she would hold it, and he would push every button. And then she'd turn it over, and he'd do it. And he had the best time with it because it was something that he could use his fingers a little bit enough to be able to play with that item. And I send poppets all the time, but you just don't think about how God might use that item. I look at that item, it's just like, oh, this is a fun extra, but no, that was to him his favorite thing in the box because he could use it and he could play with it and it was fun and he was able to do something. And so when you're packing your box, it was just so apparent in everything she was saying. And we hear these stories, but it's just such a great reminder sometimes to hear it again. Is just pack what God leads you to pack. As long as it's not on the do not send list, just pray and God will lead you to pack. You hear stories about a child getting Band-Aids and he had an issue with bleeding and he needed Band-Aids and he was thrilled over bandages. You never know sometimes even why God's leading you to pack something, but you just have to trust in him. And another thing I got from her word was that, you could just see that every box was made for that child. And for me, I tell people, I said, when you pack a box, I've had people tell me, oh, I can only pack 2. I said, that's 2 children. I don't look at the boxes as if it is a shoebox. I think about these boxes as if this is a child. This child has a name. And it's really emotional when you think about it that way. I'm sorry. It's just really emotional because each one of God's children is so important. And even though we may not know their name, God does. And the impact of the box that you're packing is so direct. God has a plan for that child. So you may be putting in there a Barbie. You may be putting in there a unicorn stuffy or, a soccer ball. But maybe that child's been praying for that. I mean, a poppet that you may think you're just adding to fill space. But God is having you add that because that child has a need. And it's just so powerful to think about it that way. And it's just neat to hear these stories with people who do get to experience what's on that side of the box. But again, I just think it makes it so apparent we need to just remember that each box is a child. And God is using this box to touch that specific child. And I love that. And I love that we get the opportunity to do that in this ministry. I love that, I get to shop and find deals and, even sometimes I'm not thinking about it. I'm like, oh, this is just a great deal. Well, you never know why God leads you to something. So it was just a really wonderful message, and it was just really exciting that she got to share it with our group, that kids were there, adults were there, and I think everybody got something out of it. And you do all this work all year round, and sometimes, you know, we lose sight amongst, you know, people's opinions or you know, things happening in our lives, and it makes it difficult. But just having that refocus, you know, talk about, you know, what's going on that end, just really like is rejuvenating. And sometimes we need that. And even though I haven't lost my passion, it's still good for me to sort of get that, you know, reality check, like, oh yeah, you know, this is doing something so amazing for God's kingdom, and we're reaching so many children. And so it was just a wonderful, wonderful message. So that's what we did before the workshop. And then it was nice for Lynn, who I am the drop-off leader at our church, so I do get to talk and work with Lynn because she is our area coordinator. But you know, she doesn't live in my town, so it was nice having her there to see these workshops that we talk about all the time. Yeah, we had a really good turnout. People were excited to hear from her. And then we got to the normal workshop stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and share that with you guys and show you what we did this time. And we just had a blast. So yeah, let's check it out. Okay, so this activity, we have school supplies. They are taking these zipper bags and passing them around, and everybody's putting their items in, and we will have filled school supply bags for the children with all the stuff that they need in there. And there's tons of stuff behind so yeah, that's this activity. Okay, over here they are unboxing glue sticks, and then just taking them out of the packaging. We have lots to do. These lovely ladies are working on crayons. They're putting them in Ziploc bags and then putting them in the bin when they're finished. Over here, we've got some sweet little girls helping put together eraser bags. We were gifted these fun erasers, and we are putting them in these little tiny bags. And that way it's just easier at the packing party for people to grab. They're doing a great job. We always have our sewing project going on. They're working diligently and making the pads still. We're going to be we're going to be turning out a lot of these. They've been working diligently, lots of pads for the older girls. Over here, we're working on bracelets. They can take all these beads and make whatever they want, and she's already put together a cute little pattern. Super fun activity that we've just had every single month. Over here, we are sharpening pencils. It's a project that never ends. They will go through these and they'll be ready for our next workshop when we work on more school supplies. One of our next activities is we are taking these boxes. Let me get one. This came from Staples, and they donated these. We got 2 of these. Now they're for local schools, but they heard what we were doing and they donated them to our workshop. And they are dumping out each box and sorting all the different things out in baggies, so it just makes it easier for the team. Oh, thank you. So all these lovely ladies are working on this project. Yeah, it's very nice of Staples to donate those. Okay, so here we have a big box of blue pens that we've ordered, and they are just separating them in baggies and counting them so we know how much we have for the inventory.
Thank you. And yes, I'm doing that. So that makes it easier for our inventory and when it comes to the packing party, knowing how much more we need to order. This activity was finished faster than I could get a video of them doing it, but this is, I have these crayons and that were given to us, which I do have some of these at home for me personally that were given to me, but now we have some for the workshop. We're going to use these in our filler bags here that we're doing, and they just put them in these bags. And these bags I got on Amazon, and they are 3x4 size zipper bags. You can just get them on Amazon, and they have them I think in like 200 bag quantities up to 500, maybe even 1,000, and they worked perfect. They fit the 8 crowns in there perfectly. Over here, we're working on the last of the Yahtzee games. We have these in bags. You've seen us do them before.
Oh, yeah.
And we're missing some chips. So they are putting the chips in the last of the Yahtzee games.